and welcome to the Adult Career Pathways Institute Career Exploration. I'll turn things over to Lydia.
Yes, hello everyone. Good morning still. We are going to end the day with our second and final session, Career Exploration for English Language Learners in Multi-Level Classrooms. We have a handful of presenters for you today. And what I'm most excited about is getting those tips and tricks that we need to create some really great programming for our students and our programs. As we are moving through today, I've been inspired and I've already got my mind map started for today. So a lot of the good ideas that we're hearing, what we want to implement for our summer programming. So I encourage you all to do the same. My name is Lydia Yankee. I am the Adult Programs Coordinator here at Owatonna Adult Education. I started my career exploration work as an undergrad and a graduate student, and I was a career advisor in higher education. I did that for a little bit, and then I made my way to Owatonna as the college and career navigator for Owatonna Adult Ed. And what my focus has been on as of late is collaboration and finding those partners that can bring you something, anything to the table, whether that be expertise, whether that be their time, whether that be their funds. So I really try to be creative in how we can partner with folks and how that's going to result in career exploration for our students. So I wanted to start our time together by looking at the Minnesota careers, fields, clusters, and pathways and career exploration. So a lot of the navigators will probably be familiar with this. But what I want to start with is getting you thinking and kind of transitioning to career exploration, what we're talking about today. So in the chat, can you please mention what you think of when you hear the word career exploration? What does that mean to you? What do you think of right away? And go ahead and pop that in the chat. I know for me, I think back to my very first career exploration meeting, which was when I was working at Concordia, and I met with a woman who was middle-aged, and she was sick of the work that she was doing, and she wanted a total career change. And that was really hard for me to have a conversation about because I was 21. And I didn't have all the resources I have now, and I don't have all the experience. And so I always think back to how to help her and how I had to help her in a holistic way and think about her as a person and all of the different things that she had going on in her life. So it really forced me to think about her and what she needed to have a sustainable lifestyle. So that's how I tackled that. If we look in the chat, we've got Don Butera who says, what do I want to do with my life? I think I question that every single day. Testing out different types of jobs, right? That career exploration, you're doing job shadows, maybe you're providing internships for your students. Job opportunities, shifting gears, taking an interest assessment, absolutely. Matching employee skills with employer needs, super important. We will talk about that. Balancing immediate and long-term goals. Yes, especially as an adult learner, and how often that can flip and change and transition based on your lifestyle. Let's see, what else? Experiential learning. Yes, we will talk about summer learning labs, something my site did to get that hands-on experience. Absolutely. Anything else? Okay, perfect. So I will go ahead and just talk a little bit about what we'll cover, being that we are in the right mindset. So each of our three presenters will tell you a little bit about their program, what they're going to be doing, what they have done in the past, what's worked, what's not worked, all of those good things. They'll leave you with some bright ideas, right? So those tips and tricks, very practical tips and tricks that you can implement today, tomorrow, in the summer, next year. Write those things down. And then we'll also have about 5 minutes for Q&A for each of the presenters, and they've got a lot of different avenues to take career exploration. I think the best part of this session is that each site is really reflecting a willingness to try something new with their adult learners. That's the key part of this. So we will focus on that a little bit. All right, so we do have our 3 panelists. The first one is Jackie Skillicky, who is an ABE instructor at Owatonna Adult Ed. I get to spend my days with Jackie. I'm very biased. I love her to death. We also have Miss Lynn Thompson, who is the program manager and instructor at the International Institute of Minnesota, and Amy Fish, who is the program manager and instructor at Lakes Area Adult Education. What a fine group of people. And we will start with Miss Jackie.
So hi, I am Jacqueline, or Jackie, whichever you prefer. I've been in ABE about going on 8-9 years here. So I've done a little bit of everything as far as teaching, from low beginners to high intermediate to some work with our GED students all the way up to career pathways. So I have a little bit of knowledge in everything. To start with, we're going to talk about some of our population that we focus on here. We work with the Hispanic population, and we keep getting some of those students currently right now. We have a very high influx of Nicaraguans and other cultures coming into our center in the last few weeks. We have Student Leadership Council guides our career exploration ideas and pathways that we want to go with. And then we use our IELCE grant is heavy influencer on what we program in our center. And then we're going to switch over to some of our topics that we're going to cover today, starting with coffee and career conversation. That is something we've implemented last year and this year. We are fortunate to have employers come in from our community to talk about their job and their education experience in the job field that they chose. So we've had manufacturers come in, healthcare people, partnerships with different employers in our community. And they talk about their job and how they got there, including education. They allow the students to ask questions and share about leadership opportunities within their organization. And then we get a chance to kind of see what jobs are available in that field, from entry level all the way up to college or some more advanced degrees, which allows students to ask questions on that. And then we review questions one might ask the guest speaker ahead of time, so we pre-teach that, and then give them a chance to talk about that. And then when the guest speaker leaves, we'll debrief or post-teach, which allows students to ask us questions from the speaker that they may not have felt comfortable asking. And then we will send that message to the employer, and they'll get back to us with those questions the students might have. And then we also invite them to our year-end celebration every May at the end of the school year. We are fortunate enough to have a student success celebration where we honor all of our students' hard work. So they come to us and join us at our celebration, and we thank them for their help with our career pathways throughout the school year. Another thing that we are fortunate enough to work with is our campus tours and built-in job shadows. So we work with local employers to go visit their companies on site. And we take our students on a bus out to a employer, and then we get to go around and get a tour of the business and what they do at that company. One we just went to was about manufacturing. And then when we're in there, students get to see what happens at the manufacturing plant or the healthcare plant. And then they get to ask questions to employers. And then we get to job shadow and see kind of what the life in a day would be at that business, and we're fortunate in Owatonna to have manufacturing and other businesses working with us. So we are lucky to go out to sites and visit. We coordinate by adult program coordinator. Lydia helps us with that. It's based on student interest. So we're fortunate that our students have a say in the things that we want to go after and topics that are interesting to them. We kind of plan our lessons around that. We typically take an hour out there and then 30 minutes to job shadow. When we're on site, we pre-teach things about that company and some of the vocabulary they might encounter on that job when we're there. And from that, then we come back and post-teach any questions they might have had or vocabulary they still don't understand. And then we invite those partnerships to come to our year-end celebration to thank them and meet with our students, because once they connect with our students, they have some resumes and job shadow opportunities that they can put on their resumes as a student. So we're fortunate with that. Then also, we are fortunate to have a Community Connect event in our community here. So it's community outreach where we share upcoming classes and services we offer here and in the community. So Lydia and some of us go sit out there at a booth and talk about the great things we're doing here, but also students get to see what other resources we have in our community that might help them in their day-to-day living. We also are able to do job fairs where we take our students out to meet prospective employers. We did that the other week. So we had 30 employee companies out there, and our students got to ask questions about job openings, job shadowing opportunities, and just what does a student need for education to be at that job, from entry level all the way up to college. So I took my low-level students out there and we just asked general questions about conversation. Good morning, how are you? What is your name? Where do you work? What do you do at your company? Simple things. And then we had advanced students that were asking about what positions are available, what are your hourly wage, and different things like that. One thing Lydia mentioned on that we are very proud of here is our learning labs. We are fortunate enough to work with different partners in our community and have learning labs, which is hands-on activities related to certain jobs. Some of the topics we've covered is first aid. So last summer we did a first aid class where we did a week-long learning lab on first aid. So every day they met with us for 3 hours. We covered basic first aid, a little bit of CPR, and then we had an ambulance crew come in and they got to take a tour of that vehicle and kind of see what some of the AED and equipment is on there. And when we do our learning labs, we have an expert come in for each topic. So on that one, we had someone that is a first responder come in and help teach the class. And some of the vocab students might need to have for that class, along with some of the job experiences they've had or scenarios that they've had on the job that went well or didn't go well with that field. And then students get to ask questions and kind of see what would be the day in the life of that person on the job as a first responder. Another one we've done is garden boxes and auto maintenance. We did those with Big Ideas, is who we partnered with. And they came out and brought an instructor and a curriculum for that. So we were teaching the language acquisition for that class. And in doing so, then the instructor was the knowledge for the class, and students got hands-on experience with taking apart parts of the car, fixing a tire, and changing a tire, checking the air pressure. And then for the garden boxes, they got to actually make a box using real tools and putting it together and then keeping the box and taking it home to plant a box garden at home. And then other classes we had were childcare, where we had on-site SAC program here. So we had expertise in that. And then we got to go down and job shadow the childcare setting down there and work with the kids on hands-on activities, whether it be on the playground, outside, or at lunchtime, doing things with that. We've done sewing on site, where we have an expert come in and teach our students how to sew. So we work on vocabulary with that and parts of machine and basic stitching. And so they come in and teach our students that, and then we practice that with the sewing machines on site. And then right now we are running a small business cohort at night. And in that class, we are using Co-Starters curriculum. And again, another expert that comes in to partner with us. And so what we are focusing on is how to start small on a business adventure and grow into what other avenues they might want to do in the future with that business. But it's really talking about the business itself and how to start without a lot of money. So doing a lot of customer discovery and self-discovery about their business. And that involves talking to other people that have like-minded businesses, and then working with our Owatonna business group here. And Sean Williams is one of our partners in that class. So they get expertise in the business field and opportunities to job shadow other businesses within that class. And so students really liked that. And then we're going to talk about some topics about co-teaching with experts. So we teach career classes where we have an expert in the room and we co-teach with the experts. So I'm able to ask them questions, they're able to ask us questions. We get to really get a hands-on feel of and establish roles and responsibilities ahead of time for that class. We review program at the end of each class and talk about what went well and what didn't go well with our students and the curriculum itself. Then we get to review program partnerships, and we have healthcare, small business, sewing, construction, and IET, and those kind of all go along with our IELCE grant. So we're very fortunate enough to partner with those people to make those classes happen. And then some other things we really focus on are on our holistic on-ramp classes. We find the best partners for the goals. We work with workforce development, local colleges, local employers and organizations, and then we have a new high school. So we're fortunate enough to have some learning labs in there that we're going to get access to and work on some summer programming there. So things that we are working on this summer, we're looking at doing some culinary, welding, and healthcare labs, working with local employers, and may have employees that want to skill up or promote within their company and would qualify for ABE. And this is a good opportunity to fill our classes and get more hours. And then we're also fortunate enough to work with our local employers with on-site ESL classes. So we've been going out to our local employers and doing language acquisition on-site and directly working with them on skilling up their employees to do different roles in management as they move up the ladder within the company. So we're working on things from measurement to math skills with reading blueprints to just learning the names and tools of a press or machine they might work with on site, along with just standard ESL language acquisition in the classes. So those are kind of a lot of the things that we are working on here. And then we have some pictures here that Lydia is showing up here of some of our things we've done with CPR, our building boxes, and then our ambulance visit. And then the last picture is one of our on-site tours we just did for Coffee and Career Conversation. We went out with the employer and met them in a room, and they shared with us what they do at their company. And then we got a tour and we're able to see some of the job opportunities that might fit our low-level ESL students all the way up to our higher-level ESL students. So that's kind of what we've been up to here at Owatonna ABE. And then here's some things we're working on for the future, assembling our dream team. I'm fortunate enough to work with a supervisor and staff that are awesome. And we are willing to try new ideas and see what sticks to the wall and come back with ideas and opportunities with our partners in the community to make great classes for our students. We adopt the model, we can do hard things because our students can, so can we. And then we consult, we build up our classes with the professionals. So we have different people in our community that are experts that we go to for these topics that we cover in class. And then we focus on quantitative and quality needs of our students. What are things that we can do to help them be successful in class? And one of them is what we do right now on screen. I do high flex every day, depending on the class and classes we offer. Some things are, of course, better in person, but we have no problem turning on our screen because families are sick. They got a sick kid. They want to join, but they can't get here, or they missed the bus, or other things that happen in life. So my students are really great about muting and unmuting on the camera and joining us. So we're fortunate enough to offer different avenues to help our students be successful in class and outside of class. And those are the things that we're doing here. So does anybody have questions? I'll throw it back to Lydia.
Here we go. Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate that. Yes, Owatonna is quite spoiled, I will say. Any questions for Miss Jackie? We've got about 5 minutes. I'm looking at the chat. There doesn't seem to be anything. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Jackie, you know, we talked a lot about our positive things that are going on. How about something that has been a little challenging? Have you had any challenges in any of these different initiatives that you've been running?
Well, the task with some of our classes are students. They all sign up, but sometimes life happens and they don't come. So we have small class sizes, 1 or 2 students. Makes it more difficult in when you want a cohort or in building a class that you want to sustain long term. And with some of our offsite partners, we've ran into that trouble of we'll have a class at their job and teach job vocabulary and safety, and they'll promise us 15, 20 students, and we have 5 or 2 in a class. That makes it hard to run because, again, cost and all that comes into play, and just what's best for the students. We want successful classes, and we know best when students work together in a larger group. There's more conversation that happens naturally and questions that can be asked. But when there's 1 or 2 students, the questions can be short sometimes, or they don't feel like they're part of a group, you know. So that's been a challenge. And just for some of our students, timing. We can't meet everybody's needs as far as time when class starts. Some can do early mornings, some can do late evenings, or some can do afternoons, and then, but not everybody else can. So when you put together a class and you build a dream team, and then you got to come up with the hours, and that can be tricky some days, is what works best for our students when they work 12-hour days and only have 1 day off, or those kind of things come into play.
Absolutely. We do have a question in the chat. Lynn asked, what are the English level requirements for all of these classes, and what are the employment outcomes?
So our classes are for all of our students, but we might start with simple vocabulary and for our low language level learners. So some classes we run on site don't have a cut score like 220 on the CASAs. Other classes are more technical in higher level skills, where they might need some GED or be working toward their GED. And so our outcomes are just employment for some of our students, or for some of the students, it's just leveling up in our ESL classes to move on to employment in the future with those job skills or training sectors. Because some of the jobs that are out there require a GED for some of our students, and they're not there yet. But we work on language acquisition and job skills and soft skills and employability that will help them get there in the future.
And so those soft skills or those essential skills are kind of built into the majority of your classes.
Yes. So from every level that we have at NEL here all the way to the job sites, we talk about soft skills and employability.
Okay.
And then, yes, we have and then we are fortunate in Owatonna to have Lydia as our navigator with career pathways. So if students come to us saying they want classes in healthcare or a hairstylist or welding, we send them to Lydia and she works with them to see what we can do in our community to help them, what schooling might be out there, or what employers might want to work with us to either do a class, create a class, or just go job shadow somebody in that field to see if it's for them. Now, we are fortunate enough to do a lot of programming on site with just career exploration in general about those kind of topics, whether it be manufacturing, welding, IT, healthcare, small business, so they can see if it's the class for them or the job area sector for them.
Sure. And I will say, from my experience as a navigator, I do program a lot with our school district's career pathways navigator, Brian Coleman, because he has so many connections to local industry. And so when he and I are together, things get happening, we get a lot done. So that's helpful. It's that collaboration piece, right? Okay, well, thank you, Jackie. We're going to move on to our next panelist, Miss Lynn. Oh, there we go.
All right. Hi. Thanks for having me, and I'm happy to talk about the programs that we have at the International Institute of Minnesota. We are located in St. Paul, so a more urban setting, and we are not just an ABE site. We are in a refugee resettlement agency, so the International Institute resettles refugees. We also have an immigration department, an education department, and then the classes and the programs that I run are in the workforce department. So we kind of have a lot of crossover between all of those programs, and we find it really helpful to have all of those wraparound services for our students so that they come in as refugees and get resettled and have employment services with them. But then they are able to also access the workforce classes and the education department that we have here as well. So I'm going to specifically talk about the hospitality career pathway that we have at the Institute, and that I am the program manager and the instructor for. So a little bit about our student population. The average age of our students is about 39 years old. 67% of them have been in the country less than 4 years, and 92% of them have never worked before in the US. So even if they've been here for longer than 4 years, they've maybe been at home with kids. They've been, not working for some other reason, and are looking to get their very first job in the US. A little bit other in the hospitality career pathway, especially 80% of our students are women, and about 40% of them have children under 10 years of age. So that also affects, what kinds of jobs they can do, and what hours they're able to work, and the barriers that they're facing around childcare, and just being able to balance all of those responsibilities of life. Also about 80 to 90% are dependent on public transportation. So that's really crucial when we are helping people find jobs, that they are able to get to those jobs, and that all the bus routes are accessible to them. Makes it really difficult in the wintertime to help people find jobs, and when they are facing those additional barriers of transportation. So I think we can go to the next slide. So what do we do in the hospitality career pathway? We have 3 core classes. Our housekeeping class, which is for low-level English speakers, very beginning level, but have a little bit of conversation. I've taught this class to people who are pre-literate in their own language, and that it helps. It's useful, but it's very challenging. So it's better for them to have some basic English skills when they are starting the housekeeping class. But we always see improvement no matter where students are starting from. And then we have the dietary aid class, which is teaching especially for nutrition services in nursing homes or hospitals. So they are training to be able to work with elderly patients or sick patients in the healthcare setting. But we do have many graduates from this program go on to do food service in like schools or college campuses, many different avenues for food service. But in the dietary aid, we're focusing a lot on conversation, that basic, how do you take somebody's order conversation, and knowing all the questions that they have to answer about what would you like to drink? What would you like in it? What would you like to eat? What would you like on it? You know, all of those kinds of questions and the orders and how they remember all those things. So we do a lot of practice around that in just students practicing serving themselves, serving each other. And then we have an experience at the end of the class where we have volunteers that come in and we work down in, we have a kitchen and a large hall here at the Institute. And so students will take the volunteer's order and then go into the kitchen and with the help of their classmates prepare that orders. Usually we do breakfast, so where it's eggs and toast and pancakes and fruit and all of those kinds of things. And so the students just really love that experience. It's a culmination of all that they've learned throughout the time, and being able to put it into practice. It's really fun to see those light bulbs go off, you know, things that they've like learned and practiced in simulation times, but then when they actually get to do it in real life, they're like, oh, that's what that means. And so that's really fun to see that happening for students. I think also it just gives them a lot of confidence in being able to practice those things in real life. They can go into interviews and into the job saying, yeah, I know how to do this. I've done this before. I think because it builds on a skill that most people have, which is cooking, being in a kitchen, being around food, it just gives them a lot of that base knowledge that they're then building on and being able to make all those connections with. So it's really helpful. We also do job shadowing in both of those classes, in the housekeeping and the dietary aids. In the housekeeping, we take them to a local hotel where they spend at least 3 days doing different kinds of activities. They learn how to make a bed the way that the hotel does it there, learning all the tips and tricks on how to do it quickly and do it neat and also safely so that you're not hurting your back with all those repetitive movements. And then we spend 1 day at a hospital where we learn about environmental services at a hospital, and they get to see the differences. A lot of learning comes from comparing and contrasting when they are able to see those different workplaces and those different environments. And then they get to actually really be able to choose what is going to better fit them and their personality. So some people like to work alone and they like to just have their set task and this is what I'm going to do for the day and I'm going to get that done. Then they may want to work more in a hotel setting. Some people really like to interact with other people throughout the day and work with coworkers and be able to communicate with guests and patients. And so maybe a hospital is going to be a better setting for them. Especially if they want to work their way up in a medical or healthcare career, then starting in environmental services at a hospital is going to be a really good starting point for them. For the dietary aid class, we take them to a nursing home and they get to see how residents are cared for in the nursing home. This is a really eye-opening experience for our students because many of them come from countries where nursing homes don't exist. Elderly people are cared for in family homes and they themselves have cared for their elderly relatives in their home. And so I can explain to them and show them pictures about what a nursing home looks like and all the different levels of care and all of that until we go to the nursing home. They don't understand. And then they go and they're like, oh, this is what it looks like. And then they can see themselves, I could work here and I could take care of these older people and really love it because they have a heart for that kind of caring. And then we also go to a hospital for the dietary aid class as well and tour their nutrition services. And they get to see, again, a completely different job where it's much more. And some hospitals are serving up to 1,000 meals a day, and some nutrition services workers are only in the kitchen and they never see a patient. So again, it just depends on what kind of job those students are looking for, and being able to match up their personality, their skills, their temperaments with the job that they're going to be most satisfied and happy in, and that's going to work for their family and their schedule. And then the other class that we have is the cashier class, which we've had it now for about 18 months. We've had it for about a year and a half. Cashier class, again, a little bit higher English level. They're working a lot on customer service, the conversation that you have with somebody when they come to the checkout, and a lot with money, counting money, making change, learning the cash register. We have a Square system that students learn, so that system where they can, where they are learning how to use that cash register. And we have a student store in the International Institute that we open up a couple times a week, and the students in the cashier class are checking out customers. We sell basic snacks and drinks to our staff and also to other students. And so students really love that experience, and it's a good hands-on experience. We do some job shadowing for the cashier class, and I think it's a really good thing, but it's been more difficult to find job shadow experiences for the cashier class, just because of the busyness of the location, and then we really can only match up one-on-one to have a good job shadow experience for the students. And so when you have a class of like 10, it's a little bit more difficult to give them each that unique one-on-one job shadow experience in an actual business. It just takes more time and coordination from our staff and the employers. So having that student store has really been a way that they can get hands-on real life experience just right here at the Institute. So that's been really helpful. Yeah, so here's just some pictures of all those different experiences that we have. You can see our student store. In the one picture, there's a student taking an order from one of our volunteers. And then some of the different tours and the practical experiences we have at the hotels. So yeah, I think that's all I want to say about that. You can go on to the next slide. So some of our ideas, using realistic materials. Every time I go visit with an employer, we are working on employer partnership, I always want to collect any materials that employees are going to have to understand in English. So a great example of that is at the nursing home. They have this whole system called the International, called the International Dysphagia system. And there's a longer name for it, but it's basically like how food is served to people who have different dietary needs and need their food prepared in different ways for them to be able to eat it. So maybe someone needs a pureed diet, or they need their food cut up very small, or they need assistance with things. And so there's this whole chart and language and everything that goes with this system. And so by gathering those materials and incorporating that into our curriculum, again, it just gives students that leg up when they go into a job like a nursing home or a hospital. They recognize those terms, they recognize the symbols that are being used, and it's not the first time that they've experienced it. And it gives them confidence and also helps them to take in the training that they get when they start their job. So we find that really helpful. employer visits, like I've talked about, allowing students to see the workplace, what it will look like and what it will feel like, and then giving them that hands-on experience. However we can do it, helping students to move around in the classroom, to handle real life materials, get that real life experience. And then also assessments, being able to provide opportunities to demonstrate their knowledge in multiple ways. And I think that this is really important, especially for low-level English speakers and English language learners who maybe have a really strong speaking and listening, but a lower level reading and writing. And so being able to help them to feel successful in whatever how they are able to show their proficiency. So some of our assessments include that dining experience at the end, where we have the volunteers fill out evaluation forms for the students and allow the students to show their knowledge in that way. In the housekeeping class, we have a variety of assessments where either they get to tell me what they would do in a certain situation, or they get to match the word with the picture, or they have to write things down. There's just multiple ways of giving those assessments and having students be able to demonstrate their knowledge in ways that make them have success, I think is really important, because I think so much of language learning is building confidence and allowing students to fail in safe ways and to learn from those mistakes and then build on that knowledge again. So I think that's really what I want to talk about. The IET strategies in action, there's a link there. And I think we're gonna put that in the chat. Yeah.
Yep, it's in the chat as well.
Yeah, thanks. So this was put out by COABE, I believe, and just highlights a lot of different IET strategies. And I really feel like it makes a huge argument for these low-level classes and really building career exploration into curriculum for people at the lowest levels and all throughout the levels. But there's a statistic in that document that talks about like 54% of students in adult basic ed are at level 3 or below. And I just think we need to not wait until students reach level 4 and 5 in order to start talking about career and getting them into these career pathways, because students have that ability, they have that passion. And I think when they really care and are interested in a topic, that they will learn it faster and just be more motivated to learn and keep going in that. And then we also have the link to the International Institute, where you can learn more about our programs highlighted there. Yeah, so I guess I can pause for some questions.
Oops. So sorry, guys. Any questions? No? Okay, so then we are gonna go, I'm sorry, we are having some technical difficulties. There we go. All right. Well, thank you. Goodness sakes. Here we go. We're back at it. Thank you, Lynn. We are going to move on. If you have questions, please put them in the chat, and we can kind of revisit that at the end. Miss Amy, your turn.
Hi, everybody. First of all, if it's okay with Lydia, I see that we're a pretty small group, and I would be fine with it being more conversational. If you want to raise your hand and come on screen or chat questions as I talk, and we can be more of a conversation instead of just listening to me talk, I would be more than happy with that. Is that good with you, Lydia?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine with me.
Okay, so next I'll introduce myself. I came into adult education accidentally and temporarily in 2005. My family and I moved back to Detroit Lakes in the middle of a school year, and there were no job openings in my specialty fields. I take that back. There was one, but when I was offered the job, I asked them why they thought I was a good fit after that interview. That's a story for another day. But obviously, since it's been since 2005, it's not temporary. I'm here for good. This has become my true career. I love adult education. It has everything I loved in my previous career and a lot less of the things I didn't love. So the career planning transitions does predate joining adult basic education. I came in, my licensures are learning disabilities, behavior disorders, and vocational education. So my prior professional life had been doing transitions programming, work experience, transitions planning, and service learning with high school students, mostly with some sort of disability, but also some students who were in regular education. And since most of my career was in Pelican Rapids before we moved to Alaska, also a lot of students who spoke English as a second language at the junior high and high school level. So I brought career planning to adult education with me. And in my first years in adult education, I had a wonderful manager, Kathy Simison, who was really supportive of the idea of, yeah, sure, try it. And so when I said I wanted to make an introduction to college and career planning and the Minnesota Career Information System, which was not part of the adult education system at the time, she said, sure, try it. So the local school district gave us access to the high school account for Minnesota Career Information System, and we made it part of intake. The introduction was, we really, really hope that our local high schools are not waiting until you're about to graduate to start talking about what you're going to do next, because graduation day is a little too late to make the plans. So we're not going to wait until then either. We're going to start today. And we got them set up with a Minnesota Career Information System account and gave them an introduction to some of the tools and did one assessment so that they would start at least exploring some career options that might not, I mean, everybody came in saying either mechanic or nurse because that's what they had seen somebody do all their lives. And what do you like about that job? Well, I don't know. Do you like anything about that job? Well, everything my aunt says or my uncle says, I hate it. Or even if they liked it, you know, there's some related careers that, okay, so nursing sounds okay, but you don't like blood. Let's see what some of the related careers are. So it's always been, it's been the funnest part of the job, both before adult education and since adult education, is connecting and making all of the learning relevant. Once it's focused on a career goal and what you're going to do after getting the GED or after getting your US citizenship or after you can speak enough English with a real goal, then the reading, the math, the science, all of it is more relevant. And we can also find more specific relevant materials to use. So if a student is going into nursing, we're probably going to use a nursing assistant manual for a lot of the reading instruction. If they're planning to go into construction, we've got math books that focus on construction. So we'll teach the topics from a traditional textbook, but then we will always go to application questions from the student's career. When they say, how am I going to use this in the real world? We should have an answer to that. We really, really should. So from there now, it's my introduction screen here gets a little bit complicated. I was asked to present about our Developing a Future Pathway class, which, as I kind of just said, actually started before I was even in adult education. It's evolved into an adult program, and it's evolved into an instruction that is still part of our intake for all students. And it is for adult education students. If a student comes in to get their GED or their adult diploma, or to raise their AccuPlacer scores, or for English as a second language, no matter what a student comes in for, we're going to be talking about developing a future pathway. That's going to be part of our introduction. And we don't need to separate students into, okay, you're a college prep student and you're a career prep student and you're a GD student and you're an ESL student in the classroom. This is something that we can do with students together. You're a new student and we need to talk about this. And that's not just because we're in rural Minnesota and we need to do it to create a cohort. It's the right thing to do to bring students together, not separated by those categories, but working collaboratively, because that's what's going to happen in college and in the workplace is new Americans who speak very little English and students who went through high school easily and then got their degree, and students who got their GD when they were 45 and are trying to figure it out now. They're all going to work together in the real world, and they should learn together in our classrooms too. So that's the developing a future pathway part of the course I'm going to talk about. And then the second piece, so I didn't put the About Us as my consortium. I put it as the ROC site, the ROC collaborative, which is much bigger than my consortium. So you heard in the introduction from Brad a little bit about ROC. If you could bring up the website, Lydia.
Yes.
So ROC is the Regional Online Collaborative.
Here we go. There we go.
So if you can roll down to the course offerings. So the Regional Online Career Collaborative is through our Transitions Grant. And Lydia, if you can just roll through this slowly so everyone can see them while I talk. I'm not going to go into detail on all of them, but you can kind of see some of the ones that we've run this year, and it changes a little bit each year. So all of the consortium in the Northwest region, and now also the Northeast region has joined us, work together to plan courses that somebody in our consortiums has the expertise to offer and can convert to an online class so that it can be available to the whole group. And then we get the schedule figured out and put it out there. And also you can pick any one of them and pull up, you'll have to go back up a little bit and to where it's got the details about each class and pull up any one of them. It doesn't matter which one. A little farther up. There you go. When you're looking at the individual classes, you can click on any of them.
Oh, okay.
No, back up again. There you go. You should be able to open the class. Well, that's the summer course offering that hasn't been posted yet. You'll have
to... I'm not sure.
Yeah, keep going up. This one won't have a link yet because it's they just added that this week.
Okay. Where would you like me to click?
Click on registration.
Okay.
See if we get it there. You should have had it on. There you go.
So, any of these?
I'm sorry, everybody. 1 second. I know how to click it when I'm on my own computer.
Yeah.
Okay, it's because the classes are over. So I will just kind of talk through it. So each of the classes has a minimum ABE level and a minimum ESL level that you need to that a student needs to have in order to participate. And since all the classes have just ended for the year, I'm not usually on the website in between classes. So I'm sorry, they aren't all listed there. So we've got preparation for the driver's exam, which is approved as a transition course because in rural Minnesota, getting your driver's license is a necessary career step. There is not the public transportation to get to work and to get to interviews and to get to post-secondary training out here. We've got English for hospitality careers. We've got a preparation for CDL, TEAS preparation for students going into the nursing program. And the one I'm going to talk about is the developing a future pathway. And again, for each course, there is a minimum ESL level and a minimum ABE level in order to enroll. And I'm going to be talking again about the developing a future pathway, the one I run. And honestly, the minimum level for ESL or ABE is a little bit higher for me to do it online than it is when I'm doing it in person. Because there is a lot more reading and interaction required to do it this way. But it is, just like in person, it is English as a second language and adult education students working together. What they have in common is that they need to set a really specific goal for their future pathway and figure out how they're going to get there. Now, I was thinking about showing all of you a bunch of the individual assignments that students do through the class, but instead I think we'll do just a final project from one of the English as a second language students who did the online class in a mixed group. So that would be the MCIS career plan final, the one that says final on, I think is the way I named it on your links, Lydia.
On this page?
No, it's on our slideshow in the speaker notes.
Let's take a look. Okay, the resume?
Nope, right in the middle, the one that says final.
Final. Here we go. Oops, good Lord. Here we go. I think I can just click on this. Does that look familiar?
That's the one I'm looking for.
Perfect.
So this is what I've sent back to the instructors, and this is also used for students who are doing adult diploma. It can become part of their portfolio. But this is the pieces that the students keep at the end after they've done all the assignments. I put together the pieces they need to remember. We're still on the, you can stay up on the top one yet. So at the beginning of the class, and obviously with the very, very low level ABE students with no literacy and the very low level ESL students, we have to do a more basic introduction to career planning. But this is where we start with most of our students. In person, it's ESL level 3 and ABE level 2 and above, and online it's 3 and 4, because it does require more reading to do it with the online class. So the first thing we do is talk really directly about what is developing a future pathway. And since there's now standards with the state, we talk about the developing a future pathway standard, and the students should be able to put that standard in their own words. So we're really intentional about what is it you're supposed to get out of this? What does the state think you're getting out of this? What does your teacher think you're getting out of this? What do you think you're getting out of it? And we can get some interesting answers there. And again, so this is with all of the identifying information removed, you're actually seeing the work of one of the ESL students from the online class. Okay, we can roll down a little bit now. Then we do some exploration just on how to use MCIS, just like where we started with when I first came into adult education, just at least get an introduction to MCIS and make sure they have accounts. So that's the next thing we do. So we can roll down a little bit. So they start with some jobs that anything that they've ever thought they might want to do. Okay, keep going. A little more. And then they, with those jobs in mind, they start looking into the database, and I've already done a demonstration, and we're looking right now just at what kind of information can they find about occupations. If any of you have ever been in MCIS, there's a whole lot more to it than the occupations database, but that's a good place to start. Okay. So we can keep going a little bit. Still a little bit more of exploring what they can find out about careers in the database. Okay, next slide. Keep going. Then they go for some details about those first 4 jobs that they identified, which is, again, anything they came in with, anything that they've ever thought they might want to do. I'll give you a second to read because it's kind of interesting to see what the student came in with here. Okay, let's look at her job number 2. And number 3. And number 4. And while you're looking at this, I should add that this student is actually a student who was given an exception. Her ESL level was a little bit below the requirement, but the teacher argued that she was really determined and a hard worker and she would make it work, and she did. Okay, so next slide. So after we've done those first 4, whatever it is you thought you might want to do, and we've figured out how to use the first part of the database, then we're going to start learning more about ourselves and the interest inventories and everything. But we start with what you already know about yourself. And this is a fun activity to start with. Tell me some of the jobs that you've loved and some of the jobs you've hated. Pretty impressive responses on assignment. We're at like assignment number 4 now for a student whose ESL level is actually below the requirements, isn't it? Okay, keep going. And we do the interest profiler to find out what the standardized assessment says about what you like and don't like, not what you're good at. This isn't what jobs will you excel at or not excel at. This isn't your aptitudes. This is what will be fun for you. And here I can explain that, you know, I know how to drive big vehicles. I grew up farming, and I actually enjoyed teaching teenagers with behavior disorders. So I could drive a school bus and I can manage a bunch of unruly children, but I don't have any idea why on God's green earth anyone thinks you should do both at the same time. I would park the school bus in the middle of a field and leave it. But thank God there's people who do like to do that. I'm just not one of them. So this is about finding the jobs that you will enjoy. So this is one student's results on this, and we can keep going and then see a little bit about how they interpreted their results. So then we do a few more assessments. Sometimes, depending on the mix of the students, we'll do work importance locator, or there's a whole variety of assessments we might do, but we'll work on the ones that seem most relevant to the group of students. And you can roll a little bit more and just stop on the interpretation pages. So this one did work experience locator, and we can go a little bit farther and see how she interpreted her results. Oh, I remember. She was very, very surprised that achievement was important to her. As she reflected on it, she realized that was true, but she never thought that that was something that mattered to her. And as she talked a little bit more, she thinks it might be because she came to America with a lot of expertise that wasn't recognized, and it became more important to her because her achievements weren't recognized for a long time. So that was another one of the fun moments where there was a lot of revelation for her and for me that helped me with future students. Okay, we can keep going. Reality check we almost always do. This one is pick a region in Minnesota and pick the lifestyle goals you want and find out how much it's going to cost. So let's see how much her lifestyle is going to cost. So if she wants to own her own home of the quality she wants and drive the vehicle she wants and have the amount of education she wants and eat out as often as she wants and travel as much as she wants, she needs to make $96,000 a year. That eliminated almost everything on her career choice list, so she had to revise a little bit. We can skim through a little bit faster now. So she's figuring out that she has to make some changes. So we can keep going. Still looking at the reality check. We can go a little bit. I learned my life is expensive and I need to, again, we're working with English as a second language now, and she was having trouble with the English here. So she was supposed to list 6 careers that she still might be interested in that meet her financial goals. And she could only come up with 4 of them, and she didn't really like any of them. So on the next screen, it says as she's setting goals, she had to revise her financial plans a little bit so that she could get a career goal. So let's see, let's keep going. A little more. So now we're working on, with all of the assessments she's done and everything she's learned about how to research careers, interacting with the group, she's starting to figure out how to make her own career plan. Okay, so we'll keep going a little bit. So these are her 6 finalists this is at the end of the course. She's got 6 finalists. And she decided that I like doing them is more important than meeting the financial goals. She can make adjustments to the size of the house and the size of vehicle she wants more than she can make adjustments to does she love her career or do it. Okay, next screen. So then out of those 6, with a little more reflection, she chooses 3, and she starts plugging in some data and a comparison chart. And this task, again, is sometimes adapted for individual students. So we've got the job description, wages, education. Those are the ones that are often the most important, but as we get to know the students, sometimes we change which ones seem to be most important for them in their selection as we know more about what's driving their decisions. Next screen. And she settled on social worker. Obviously, she decided to make a lot of adjustments to her lifestyle goals. So now these last several slides at the end of the class, they've got several slides where they name their goal, and it's naming the same goal every time because now they've set their goal. And I believe that it's important to keep naming that goal. If you've decided social worker is your goal, and there's different parts of the plan. Do you have any experience? She said, no, I don't. But as a mom, and so she figures out that she actually does have some experience. And how do you get more experience? Do you have any connections? My niece's best friend became a social worker. She makes me know I can do it. So she's going to talk to her niece's best friend to get more connections to other social workers. And she's going to watch some more videos and get more ideas about connections. So she's got an education, she's got a career goal. She's got an education plan that starts with her GED and ends with her college degree. She's got a plan for making some connections and getting some practical experience along the way while she's getting her GED and her college education. She can be making connections and getting some experience and realizing that volunteer experience and unpaid experience are valuable parts of it. Okay, we can go back to your slides, Lydia.
All right. Yes, and we've got about 6 minutes left, and we do have questions in the chat, so I want to make sure that we get to those. A couple for you, Amy. There's a question, is there a digital literacy assessment that students have to pass in order to take an online class?
There is not an assessment that they're required to pass. It is an option. We do require to do the rock classes. Each class has a different level of digital literacy requirement. And this one is actually one of the higher ones because they have to be able to do screen sharing and co-hosting on Zoom. And they have to be able to do North Star Digital Literacy and Khan Academy and Google Docs. So each teacher who agrees to do a rock class has to make a list of digital literacy skills the student should have before they enroll in the class. And the teacher is supposed to verify that. One of our hard-learned experiences is that just having that checklist before registration and the teacher saying yes didn't work out really well. We spent a lot of our first classes with students who not only didn't know how to use Zoom or Google Docs, but didn't even have a computer or internet at the time of the class. So Alice is our amazing support person. She added a survey that the students have to do before the class starts to finish their enrollment, where they confirm each of the skills on that checklist. And yeah, having access to a computer and internet at the time of the class is absolutely a minimum baseline. And we can help a little bit in class with you haven't done screen sharing before, you don't know how to co-host, or you know how to use Google Docs, but you don't know how to collaborate in them. That we can do. But if they don't have a Gmail account and they've never used Google Docs, it's not fair to the other students to try and do that in class.
Yeah, I'm learning Zoom today. That's what we're doing. I'm getting an education today on Zoom. Another question, what interest survey do you use?
We use the ones in Minnesota Career Information System. I've been using MCIS since the 90s, and I'm very comfortable with it. I know there's some other programs that other teachers and other consortia like. I don't think there's a wrong answer to that, but and there's actually more than one interest inventory in MCIS. And since I'm using the full account through the school district, I probably have access to a different set of them than you might with the ABE version of the program. But I don't think there's a wrong answer there. They all have, I've used a lot of them. There's the OCIS, they all come back with similar, they come back with basically a personality profile for work and either a list of career clusters or a list of careers that match that. And whether it's career clusters or careers, it's a starter list to help you get on track.
Right, it's that starting point. It gets you going a little bit.
Patsy, I see the chat popping up. I think they might have been asking about the slides that I had Lydia pull up that weren't in that one didn't, if that's what they're asking, Lydia, that did not have any student information included in it, so I don't see why they couldn't be added.
Okay, so we might put that in the participant folder after this is all done.
I can take care of that.
And if anyone wants to email me, I can actually get you all of the tasks. I can give you the whole series of planned lessons and tasks. And know that obviously as you're working with students on their individual paths, every bit of it is an outline. It's just a sketch. You're going to have to adapt as you go. Absolutely,
absolutely. Yep. Okay, and well, and thank you, Amy. We were going to go into breakouts, but our session is over in a couple minutes. So what we'll do is you can kind of ponder these questions at your site. Maybe take it to a staff meeting, as you're starting to plan your, plan of attack for career exploration within your site. Any other questions before we go? Oh, there is. Amy, what's your email address? I believe that is also on the flyer. So the flyer that was sent out has all of our email addresses on there. And I'm guessing our panelists are more than comfortable answering email. And then Amy also went ahead and put that in the chat. So that is right in there. Right? All right, so any last minute question for any of our panelists? Did I miss anything? No? Okay. Well, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you to our panelists for being here and sharing your expertise. It was a fun day.